All right, so let's just cut the crap and dive right into this. The Ghost of Kyiv.
Yeah,
Ever heard about this fucking guy?
of course.
So this MiG-29 pilot from Ukraine was supposed to be just racking up these kills like a goddamn video game.
All right.
Like just smoking 6 Russian planes
Yeah.
on the first day of the invasion.
Yeah, it's crazy how this story like blew up on social media. It was just insane, like wildfire.
I mean, it was everywhere.
Yeah.
Everyone was sharing those like shaky cam videos of jets, like claiming it was him.
Hmm.
And then, bam, you've got former President Poroshenko
Yeah.
jumps on the bandwagon and posts this picture of a pilot
Right.
claiming it's the ghost.
Yeah, yeah. And people were eating it up.
I mean, people were like losing their minds.
Oh, for sure.
So, what's the deal?
Well, that photo, as we know now, was actually of Andrei Pilchikov,
Interesting.
who was a real Ukrainian pilot who died in combat in 2023. And the interesting thing is that he was actually one of the people who helped create the Ghost of Kyiv myth.
Oh, wow. So was this dude even real, or was it just a bunch of like wartime propaganda bullshit?
So the Ukrainian Air Force eventually came out and said, hey, the Ghost of Kyiv, that was a myth. They even encouraged people to be more critical of what they see online.
Right.
But you gotta admit, though, it is a pretty damn good story.
It's awesome. I mean, people were pissed off about the invasion.
Of course.
They wanted to believe it.
Yeah.
It's like, give us something to cheer about.
Absolutely, and this is where it gets really interesting. This kind of thing, these hero myths,
Yeah.
they pop up all the time during war.
Interesting.
They're like a shot of adrenaline straight into the national psyche.
Yeah, okay, I get that, but like, how does that work? What makes people buy into these stories?
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
You're in the situation where everything is just chaos and terrifying.
Right.
People crave hope, right?
Yeah.
Something to rally behind. The Ghost of Kyiv, he provided that.
Totally.
He was a symbol of defiance, a total badass standing up to a bully.
Yeah. It's classic.
It's a classic underdog story. They never get old.
It's like that whole David and Goliath thing.
Exactly. And these myths, they tap into this deep-seated psychological need. They give people a sense of control in a situation where they feel powerless. And, they offer this simple good versus evil story
Right.
that's really easy to grasp in a complex conflict.
Yeah, for sure. So even if it's like a load of crap, it still serves a purpose. It's like a psychological weapon in a way.
Right. And that leads us to this idea of information warfare,
Okay.
which is basically this battle for hearts and minds using information as a weapon.
Hold on. What exactly is information warfare? Like, break that down for me.
Think of it like a chess match,
Okay.
played out in the media, on social media, even through word of mouth. It's all about controlling the narrative, shaping how the public sees things, and ultimately it can even influence the outcome of a conflict.
Interesting.
And Ukraine, in this case, they were playing chess like a grandmaster.
Okay, so the Ghost of Kyiv was basically just like a pawn
Right.
in this bigger game of information warfare.
Exactly. He was a powerful symbol
Yeah.
that helped Ukraine counter the Russian narrative.
Interesting. So speaking of narratives, the sources mentioned some crazy details about how many kills this ghost supposedly had.
Oh, yeah?
Like some reports were saying 6, others said 10, and it was all happening as the story was going viral.
Yeah, that inconsistency, that's one of the things that made people start thinking, wait a minute, something's fishy here.
Right.
There was also a misidentified photo going around.
Yeah.
And let's be real, there was no solid evidence to back up any of the claims. It was basically just a house of cards built on, wishful thinking.
Right. Yeah. It makes you wonder if any of those early reports in the invasion were even remotely true.
Exactly. And it shows how important critical thinking is, especially during a war. You have to be really careful about what you believe, even if it seems like it's coming from official sources.
So basically, even in the fog of war, don't believe the hype.
Exactly. Always be skeptical, question everything, and look for evidence before you jump on the bandwagon.
Damn, that's some good advice right there. All right, so we've got this mythical, badass pilot, a whole lot of propaganda, and a shitload of questions about what we choose to believe. So where do we go from here?
Well, the Ghost of Kyiv is like a perfect example of how information warfare can be used to shape public perception, boost morale. Ukraine was going up against this massive military force, Russia. They needed every advantage they could get. And that included, winning the information war.
Yeah, okay, so they're playing dirty. But did it even work? Like, did this whole Ghost of Kyiv thing really make a difference?
It's tough to say for sure, but it definitely had an impact, Think about it. In those first few days of the invasion, the whole world's watching, holding their breath. Everyone's expecting Russia to just steamroll right over them.
Right.
And then, boom, this story about this lone wolf pilot comes out of nowhere, taking down all these enemy jets.
Mm-hmm.
It was a huge boost for Ukrainian morale and, a major PR win for them, like on the global stage.
So it was like a propaganda victory.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't true.
Exactly. It gave the Ukrainians hope, a sense of defiance, and it helped rally international support for their cause. All of a sudden, you've got everyone rooting for the underdog, the little guy standing up to the bully.
Yeah, I get it. But it's still kind of fucked up, right? I mean, it's all based on a lie.
Yeah. That's the ethical dilemma at the heart of information warfare. Is it okay to spread misinformation, even if it's for a good cause? There's no easy answer. You have to weigh the potential benefits against the harm it could do.
So in this case, they figured it was worth the risk.
Looks like it. And to be fair, they were facing an existential threat. It was do or die. They were fighting for their lives. And they used every tool they had, including information warfare.
It's a slippery slope, though, right? Once you start bending the truth, where do you draw the line?
That's a valid point. And it's something we all need to be aware of as, consumers of information. We can't just believe everything we hear, especially during a conflict. We need to think critically, question things, and look for evidence.
So it's not just about the Ukrainians and the Russians. It's about all of us. We're bombarded with information all the time. How do we even know what to believe?
Exactly. We're living in this age of information overload. It's coming at us from everywhere. Social media, the news, politicians, even our friends and family. We need to develop our bullshit detectors, learn to filter out the noise.
Yeah, but how the hell do we do that? It's not like everyone's got a degree in, propaganda analysis or something.
It's about being aware of the tactics. The things they use in information warfare. Emotional manipulation, cherry-picking data, straw man arguments. Once you understand how these techniques work, you're less likely to fall for them.
So it's like a mental self-defense course against bullshit.
Exactly. You got to arm yourself with knowledge and those critical thinking skills. That's the best way to protect yourself from being manipulated.
Speaking of manipulation, let's talk about that photo, the one everyone thought was the Ghost of Kyiv.
Yeah.
Turns out it was a completely different pilot, right?
Oh, that's right. The photo that went viral was actually of Andrei Pilchikov, the same pilot who helped create the whole Ghost of Kyiv myth. It's kind of ironic, right? Like, the man behind the mask.
And didn't he die in combat?
He did, yeah. He was killed in action in 2023.
That's heavy, man. It's like this whole story comes full circle.
It reminds us that behind every myth, every symbol, there are real people with real lives. And in this case, those lives were on the line.
Yeah, it makes the whole thing feel a lot more real. Like, it's not just some abstract concept anymore. There's a human cost to all this information warfare stuff.
Absolutely. That's something we can't forget. The stories we tell, the narratives we create, they have real-world consequences.
So we've got this maybe not real pilot, but the impact of his story, that was definitely real. And it all ties back to this idea of information warfare, something we're all dealing with, whether we realize it or not.
That's it. That's the key takeaway. Information warfare isn't just something happening on the battlefield. It's all around us, and it's up to us to be aware of it, think critically, and make sure we're not being played.
Damn, that's a lot to process, man. Feels like we've only scratched the surface here.
There's always more to learn, but I think we've got a good foundation for understanding the basics of information warfare and how it worked in the Ghost of Kyiv story.
Okay, cool. So where do we go from here? What should someone do if they want to learn more about all this?
Well, I guess the first step is, admitting that we're all full of shit, right? Well, I wouldn't say that, but yeah, we are all susceptible to this. Doesn't matter how smart we think we are.
Yeah, exactly. So what can we do about it? Besides getting, a PhD in bullshit, how do we stop ourselves from getting played?
Well, there's a lot of practical stuff you can actually do.
Okay.
First and foremost, be skeptical, man. Of everything you see, everything you hear, especially online, don't take anything at face value.
Yeah, I mean, easier said than done, right? There's just so much information out there. It's like, where do you even start?
It's all about developing good habits, for information.
Right.
Diversify your news sources. Don't rely on just one or two outlets.
Okay.
Get information from a lot of different perspectives, even, stuff you might not agree with.
Right. Don't live in an echo chamber, I guess.
Exactly. Expose yourself to different viewpoints. It'll help you get a more balanced understanding of what's going on.
Makes sense. So diversify sources. What else?
Pay attention to where the information is coming from. Like, who's putting this out there? What's their agenda? Are they even credible? These are all important questions to ask yourself.
Yeah, basically don't trust everything your crazy uncle posts on Facebook.
Pretty much. And be wary of anything that seems too good to be true or like super sensationalized. Remember, if it smells like clickbait, it probably is clickbait.
Yeah, good point. So diversify sources, check their credibility, and avoid the clickbait. What else can we do to beef up our, bullshit radar?
Look for evidence, man.
Right.
Don't just accept claims without any backing. Ask for proof.
Yeah.
Look for sources, citations, data, anything that actually supports what they're saying.
So it's like being a detective almost. Got to investigate before you jump to conclusions.
Exactly. Be your own fact checker. There are tons of resources online that can help you verify information.
So it's not just about being skeptical. It's about actively trying to find the truth.
Right. Information literacy, that's a crucial skill these days. We need to know how to evaluate information critically and make decisions based on evidence, not just our gut or what we want to believe.
Which brings us back to the Ghost of Kyiv. People wanted to believe in this hero so bad, they just ignored all the, red flags, the lack of evidence.
Yeah, it's a classic example of confirmation bias. We tend to just look for information that supports what we already believe, even if it's not true.
So even if we think we're being objective, we're all kind of biased in some way, right?
Yeah, to some extent. We all have our own perspectives and ideas about things. The important thing is to be aware of those biases and try to, keep them in check.
It's like we're all walking around with these filters on our brains, shaping how we see things.
That's a great way to put it. And those filters are constantly being shaped by the information we take in. That's why it's so important to be critical of our sources and expose ourselves to different viewpoints.
So it's like a mental diet. We need to make sure we're getting a healthy balance of information.
Exactly. A balanced information diet is key to having a clear, accurate understanding of the world.
Man, this is some deep shit. I feel like I need to go back to school and take a class on not being an idiot.
You don't need a degree. It's about building good habits and paying attention to how you process information.
Yeah, true. So the big takeaway here is we all need to be way more aware of information warfare and how it affects us. We need to be skeptical, diversify our sources, look for evidence, and just be aware of our own biases.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And remember, this isn't a one-time thing. There's always something new to learn, a new challenge. But by developing these critical thinking skills, you'll be better equipped to handle the complexities of information and make informed decisions.
All right, folks, there you have it. The Ghost of Kyiv. Total badass myth, propaganda masterpiece, and a valuable lesson in information warfare. Until next time, stay sharp, stay skeptical, and don't let the bastards grind you down.